So writing equations from 2 points. So if you have a question that says, find the equation of the line that contains the points -3, 5, and -4, 2. Well, in order to have an equation, we know that we have to have y equals mx plus b. So we're going to need to have, remember the m is slope, the b is the y-intercept. So y-intercept is kind of challenging on these two. So let's find the slope first. So first step is find slope. Remember, I like to put mine in a table. So x, y, -3, 5, -4, 2. So I'm going to put mine in a table to find my slope. So from 5 to 2, so from 5 to 2, 5 to 2 is down 3, or you could do 2 minus 5 is -3. Okay, and then from -3 to -4, that also goes down and 1. So then I could set it up -3 over -1. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. 3 divided by 1 is 3. So my slope equals 3. Okay, hopefully you're okay with that because we've been doing that for a while. So now look at this equation, y equals mx plus b. We know the slope. We also have 2 points that have a y value and an x value. So if you look at that, let me find a different color. So if I look at that, we can say, oh, here, let me use turquoise. So we can say that this point has an x and a y. This point has an x and a y. So our step 2 is to plug in or substitute for what we, sorry, I don't know where my whiteout is, what we already know. So we know the slope, and we have 2 points in which I can use the x and the y value in this equation. So the way I suggest, you can use either point. I just suggest you use the one that looks more simple to you. So really both of them have one negative. I'm going to use 5 just because that's what I feel like using. So I'm going to plug in for what we know. We know that this is the y value. And let me get a highlighter so you can see it. So this is the y value. So I'm going to plug it in for the y value. This is the x value. So I'm going to plug it into the equation for x. And then this is our slope, so I'm going to plug it in for our slope. So 5 in for y, so 5 equals, the next thing is our slope, so 3 parentheses x, which is -3. And I put parentheses because you wouldn't want it to look like 33. You need it to look like 3 times -3. And then we don't know our y-intercept, so we're going to leave it as the letter b. And I'm going to use go ahead and still use the highlighters here, so that you know where all of those numbers came from. Sorry, my table squeaks so much. Okay, and then the last step you're going to do, step 3, solve for b. So 5 equals 3 times -3 plus b. And solve, just like we have been doing. That's why we solve equations first. So 3 times -3 is -9. Circle my variable so I know what I'm trying to get by itself. So then the opposite of -9 is to add 9, and add 9. 9 plus 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 equals b. I guess I said the last step, but there's actually one more. Step 4, write equation only using m and b. So we know it's y equals mx plus b. So we know our b is 3, or sorry, our m. So it would be y equals 3x plus 14. And that would be our final answer. So remember, first thing we did was find the slope using the table. You could also use the equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You'd have to go back a few videos to see me explain that. I personally just like using the table because I don't like having to remember what goes where. So we found the slope, then we solved for b, and once we knew the b, then we plugged in the slope and the b to get our final equation. Okay, let's do one more example. So if we have the point 4, -2, and using the same point. Let's do 2, 4, 5, 8. So 2, 4, and 5, 8. So step 1, find the equation, or find the slope. Two, 4, 5, 8. So from 4 to 8, that goes up 4. From 2 to 5, that goes up 3. So then I would set it up. Remember, y's overrun, y over x. So 4 over 3, which is just 4/3. Okay, step 2, plug in what we know. So we know our equation is y equals mx plus b. I like the smaller numbers on this one, so I'm going to use y. X value, and then slope. So y value is 4, so 4 equals, m is 4/3, x is 2, plus b, and we don't know what b is. Okay, multiply this out. So if we have 4/3 times 2, put it over 1 and multiply across. 4 times 2 is 8 over 3 plus b equals 4. Bring down that 4. Okay, we're solving for b. So notice it's a positive 8/3, so I'm going to subtract 8/3 and subtract 8/3. Grab my calculator. Okay, so I'm going to do 4 and then minus and put parentheses 8/3. And I get 1.333, or math enter. Notice if I hit math, see how it says FRAC, that stands for fraction, and then hit enter again. So the answer is 4/3. Or you could leave it as a decimal in this case. We never leave the slope as a decimal, but you could leave the b as a decimal if you wanted. Step 4, because this was supposed to be step 3. Step 3 was to solve. I just kind of ended up making it into 1. And then step 4, I'm going to write my equation. So y equals, make sure you leave it as a y. We're not going to actually use the point. And then y equals, we know our slope was 4/3, x. And now our b is also 4/3. So y equals 4/3 x plus 4/3. That one went in there, and then this slope went into the spot with the x. Usually it's not the case where it's the same number, it just happens to be on this problem.